If I had a nickel for every time Fire Emblem introduced a very interesting character with a great backstory and personality that no one gives a shit about because they showed up 30 seconds before the game ended, I'd have about 3 nickels. Which really isn't a lot, but it's very infuriating that this has happened 3 times. And while I love Renault and Carol to bits, and we'll definitely be looking at Carol someday in the future, we're going to be taking a look at Priam, the descendant of Ike, or as he's known in his Japanese name, Paris. Priam's an interesting beast to tackle, because before we even can talk about him, we have to talk about how you recruit him. Priam's a character who you get from Spot Pass, a feature that was basically free bonus chapters you could unlock right before the final boss against Grima. Priam's an oddity where he's the only Spot Pass character that isn't from the main story. He's never seen or mentioned before his chapter. Because of this, it's very easy to forget that he even exists, because he doesn't exist for 95% of your journey. It also doesn't help that most people believe Spot Pass is not canon, due to the fact that it would be really stupid if characters like Emerin didn't die in the game, so he's facing an uphill battle from the word go. But okay, let's say that you actually remember that Priam exists, so you download a Spot Pass chapter and go all the way to the west to go to it. What story awaits you? The chapter starts with Robin and Chrom discussing the legend of a radiant hero, someone who has a blade blessed by the goddess and the power to put it to work. They remark that they want this power for themselves, as it could be a great asset to the giant dragon who is currently in the sky. Yeah, forcing these chapters to be right before the end of the game has always left this weird taste in my mouth, like, you really going out and getting people when Grima's right fucking there plotting your downfall? Okay, if you say you got time. Anyways, Priam overhears this conversation and says that it's awfully presumptuous of them to assume he would even help their army. Chrom remarks that the legends seem true about Priam's power, though Priam dismisses this fact as mere flattery. Chrom then asks how he can convince Priam to join his side, and Priam gives the manliest answer a man can give. If Chrom is capable of beating his ass, Priam will then fight for him. Chrom admits he really likes Priam's spunk, and the battle is on to defeat Priam. And by that, I mean you send a paired-up duo with Gale Force in and solo everything themselves, but hey, I'm not gonna argue details. After his defeat, Priam is a man of his word and agrees to leave the island and join Chrom's army. But as he tries to leave, some of the island's inhabitants rise and stop him. They know his power is better off being used to save the world from injustice, but before he goes, they want one last battle against him. And I mean all of them. At once. It's revealed that the island's inhabitants are people that came to challenge Priam and lost to him. And, rather than just leave, they remained on the island and trained alongside him, creating an island full of those in pursuit of true strength. But Chrom notices that Priam's inhabitants are from all over the world. Men and women of Plagia, Elise, Valm, and so on have all come to form a community on Priam's island. Through a quest for power, Priam has made a society without prejudice. It doesn't matter where you're from or what your story is, you're all equals on the quest to get mad gains. Chrom remarks that maybe Priam has the ability to make a world where this is the only kind of fighting necessary, which is a direct nod to Ike and the Lion King's final conversation in Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Okay, so the parallels between Ike and Priam are clear. Ike fought a war against prejudice, and here Priam is creating a society without prejudice. But, lo and behold, Priam is more than just a walking, talking Tellius reference. He's his own character, too. And though, sadly, that character doesn't get too much time to shine due to him being Robin sexual, he does manage to leave a likable impression in the limited supports that he's allowed to have. Plus, the DLC helps a little bit, though not as much as one would like. His supports show that his pursuit of strength isn't really one of simple muscle mass. His approach is almost spiritual. He talks of the world's spirits and the energy they bestow upon oneself. He talks of his own energy from within and the process of fusing it with the aforementioned external energies. He talks about how weapons can grow their own souls should their wielders treat them with love and care. He talks a lot. In fact, the main joke about Priam is that once he starts talking, He really never shuts up. This is likely a joke about Ike, as Ike was this stoic man of few words while Priam never stops talking, but even though it's likely just an in-joke on someone else's personality, it still gives Priam a very charming, if kind of oblivious, character. More of Priam's character is explored in Awakening's DLC, which is actually more of a blessing than you would think. The Awakening DLC is talked about due to its art either being absolute dog shit or the absolute stuff of legends. But that's the thing. That's just the art. People often sleep on the character interactions in the DLC, which is a damn shame because the quality is consistently pretty good. Priam has an extended exchange with Leon in the Rogues and Redeemers DLC chain, and he has a bath with Walhart and Yenfei in the Hot Spring Scramble DLC chain. So let's get into them. His conversation with Leon has the prince come to Priam with a proposition. Listen to his friend, who is definitely not a demon lord bent on world destruction and world conquest, and he will give Priam limitless power. However, Priam is slow to accept the offer. He remarks that the whole endless power part of the deal sounds pretty sweet, but he knows that there is no fast road to success, only fast mistakes. This shows that Priam can be a bit brighter than he appears, being able to detect the fishiness of the deal, but also gives him insight into his code of honor. There are no shortcuts for the proud warrior Priam. He knows that he has to earn his strength. It can't just be given to him. Beyond the Leon conversation, Priam's lines with the Phantom cards are cool, but insignificant. He has some witty exchanges with Dean and Marissa, though they aren't exactly major revelations about his character. You would think the battle conversations he has with Ike would be really cool and really intriguing, like wow, he's muting his ancestor. But all they really do is have Priam acknowledge Ike's strength and get really excited to cross blades with him. They don't have as much to him as the Leon conversation, but I guess that would be expecting an awful lot. There's only so much you can do with 2 lines of dialogue per conversation. But you know what does give Priam some good characterization? Taking a bath. His conversation with Walhart in the Hot Springs DLC is one of pure chaotic energy. Both Priam and Walhart can sense the other's incredible power, and as fellow warriors, all they want to do is clash blades and see who still lives after they clash. This isn't really a conversation of good and evil. Neither side really talks about why the other pursues strength. That isn't really important to either of them. They both just want the thrill of a truly equal opponent. Priam says Walhart is making him feel fear, an emotion he almost doesn't recognize, and Walhart remarks that Priam might be the greatest obstacle in his quest for world conquest. The two come to an agreement that the strong will naturally be drawn to the strong, but before they can clash and end with a decisive victor, the plot of the DLC comes back and reminds them that they're actually supposed to be allies, and that they should be dealing with the zombie invasion, not each other. The two decide to postpone their battle, teaming up as warriors in arms, though both sides are still looking forward to taking down the other in glorious combat. It's a solid interaction between two men who, let's face it, aren't exactly known for their conversation skills. It also helps reinforce Priam's ability to draw in all kinds of people, as he was able to catch the eye of a man as intense and foreboding as Walhart and find a friendship with him. But despite his incredible power and his never-ending journey for more of it, Priam is still human. His conversation with Yenfei has the Swordmaster taken aback when Priam lets out a sigh of exhaustion. Priam thinks it's odd Yenfei seems so surprised. After all, Priam's been traveling across the entire world and even across multiple dimensions. That kind of travel would make any man tired, a fact that Yenfei does find to be a relief. He says that Priam's incredible feats as a warrior makes it feel as though he's some kind of otherworldly force, but it seems even the radiant hero Priam is still just a man. Priam says he never once thought of himself as something anything more or less than human, and Yenfei believes that too is impressive. Most people, once they rise above the riffraff, become vain and full of themselves, but Priam holds on to a level of humility despite his incredible rise of power. Priam thinks Yenfei is just being needlessly poetic. He is just a regular man, and he has never had any intentions as being seen as anything else. In response, Yenfei remarks that the less Priam sees his own incredible character, the stronger that character proves to be. The hot spring scramble scene with Yenfei ends as Yenfei attempts to get Priam to let loose and relax. Priam remarks how he can't let his guard down long enough to afford relaxation. Yenfei says that if Priam's truly on edge, he can keep guard for him, though Priam doesn't want to rely on anyone's protection other than his own. But Yenfei manages to remind Priam that no man is an island, and Priam eventually concedes the point and agrees to try to get some R&R after the battle is over, thanking Yenfei for his counsel and calling himself lucky for having a good friend like him. And you know, that's kind of the thing that makes Priam, well, Priam. He's able to meet Walhart and Yenfei, two characters who kinda historically didn't really see eye to eye, and form a kinship with both of them. Simply by being himself, he's able to befriend and unite people from all kinds of different walks of life, and it is that personality trait that I feel most links him with his ancestor. He might not be doing it exactly like Ike, but he's still bringing people together simply by treating them all, and himself, as equal people. But you know, Priam still manages to stand on his own 2 feet. Even if someone had no idea who the hell Ike is and saw Priam just as his own character, Priam would still be this charming, if a little stupid man, with a passion that inadvertently brings people together. Sure, you would miss some things like his design and weapon being a nod to Ike, but he would still be a cool character. Also, for some reason, the game was willing to cheat and give him access to Luna, which is a skill Priam can't normally get, so that he can have Soul and Luna, the 2 parts of Ike's signature Ether skill. But for some reason, they didn't just give him Ether. They were willing to cheat the system to give him half the skill. What, was having a non-lord with Ether considered too strong in the game with Gale Force? Thanks for watching as we conclude yet another character analysis video. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like on the video, comment on the video, sub to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and erect a statue in my honor. Until next time.